Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Shinvitam Swakanta Krishna Punyashravana Kirtanaha Pratayantasto hi abhadrani vidunoti suhritsatam नष्टप्राये शिवभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भागवते उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैस्तिकी. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 9, Verse 16. Yashmin viruddha gatayo hi anisham patanti vidyadhayo vibida shaktya anupurvayat tad brahma vishwabhavam ekam anantamadyam anandamatram abhikaram aham prapadye. Synonyms: Yasmin, in whom; Viruddhagatha, of opposite character; Hai, certainly; Anisam, always; Patanti, or manifest; Vidya Adayha, knowledge and ignorance, etc. Vivida, various; Shaktyaha, energies; Anupurvayat, continuously; Tat, that; Brahma, Brahman; Vishwabhavam, the cause of material creation; Ekam, one; Anantam, unlimited; Adyam, original; Anandamatram, simply blissful; Avikaram, changeless; Aham, I; Prapadye, offer my obeisances. Translation by Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. My dear Lord, in your impersonal manifestation of Brahman, there are always two opposing elements, knowledge and ignorance. Your multi-energies are continuously manifest, but the impersonal Brahman, which is undivided, original, changeless, unlimited, and blissful, is the cause of the material manifestation. Because you are the same impersonal Brahman, I offer my respectable obeisances unto you. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that the unlimited impersonal Brahman is the effulgence of the transcendental body of Govinda. In that unlimited effulgent aura of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are innumerable universes with innumerable planets of different categories. Although Supreme Person is the original cause of all causes, his impersonal effulgence, known as Brahman, is the immediate cause of the material manifestation. Dhruva Maharaj therefore offered his respectable obeisances unto the impersonal features of the Lord. One who realizes these impersonal features can enjoy the unchangeable Brahmananda described here as spiritual bliss. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura describes that this impersonal feature or Brahman manifestation of the Supreme Lord is meant for persons who are essentially very advanced but still not able to understand the personal features of the variegatedness of the spiritual world. Such devotees are known as Gnana Mishra Bhaktas, or devotees whose devotional service is mixed with the empiric knowledge, because the impersonal Brahman realization is a partial understanding of the absolute truth. Dhruva Maharaj offers his respectable obeisances. So it is said that this impersonal Brahman is the distant realization of the absolute truth. Although apparently Brahman seems to be the devoid of energy, factually it has a different energies working under the heading of knowledge and ignorance. On account of these different energies, there is continuously manifestation of Vidya and Avidya. Vidya and Avidya are very nicely described in Ishopanishad. It is said there that sometimes due to avidya or a poor fund of knowledge, one accepts the absolute truth as ultimately impersonal. But in fact, the impersonal and personal realizations develop in proportion to the development of devotional service. The more we develop our devotional service, the more closely we approach the absolute truth, which is in the beginning, when we realize the absolute truth from a distant place, is manifestation as impersonal. People in general who are under the influence of avidya, shakti, or maya have neither knowledge nor devotion. But when a person who is little advanced and is therefore called a gnani advances even more, he is in the category of Gnana Mishra Bhakta, or a devotee whose love is mixed with empiric knowledge. When he is still further advanced, he can realize that the absolute truth is a person with multi-energies. An advanced devotee can understand the Lord and his creative energy. As soon as one accepts the creative energy of the absolute truth, the six appearances of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are also understood. Devotees who are still further advanced in full knowledge can understand the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Only on that platform can one fully enjoy transcendental bliss. An example is given in this connection by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura of a person proceeding towards a destination. As he approaches, he sees the destination from a distant place, just as we see a city from a distance. At that time, he simply understands that the city is situated at a distance. When he comes still nearer, however, he sees the domes and flags. But as soon as he enters the city, he sees various paths and gardens, lakes, marketplaces with shops and persons buying. He sees varieties of cinema houses and he sees dancing and jubilation. When a person actually enters the city and personally sees the activities of the city, he becomes satisfied. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachyatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I would like to seek blessings from all the assembled Vaishnavas and thank you for an opportunity to purify myself. Please forgive me for any shortcomings. Yeah. So we are in the fourth canto, the creation of the fourth order, chapter 9, Dhruva Maharaj returns home. Just to give a quick recap, Dhruva Maharaj was practicing severe austerities to seek bigger kingdom than his grandfather, Brahma. Because of his severe austerities, the living beings in the three worlds started feeling breathlessness and they went to Narayana for the solution. The Supreme Lord explained the reason for the current situation and assured that they can go back to their kingdoms and he will resolve the situation. Then the Lord went to Madhuvan on Garuda to see his devotees Dhruva Maharaj. And Dhruva Maharaj was seeing the Supreme Personality in his heart and suddenly disappeared. So he was perturbed, and when he opened the eyes, he saw the Supreme God in front of his eyes. So Dhruva Maharaj offered his obeisances and respect to the Supreme Personality and started praying the Supreme Lord after he was touched with the Supreme Lord's conch shell to his forehead. So in the current verse, the Prabhupada provides. So Dhruva Maharaj said, "My dear Lord, you are all powerful. You are the Supreme One." He talks about the origin of Brahma, his role in the creation of universes, maintenance, and annihilation. And in the present verse, he talks about impersonal manifestation of the Brahman, where always two opposing elements, knowledge and ignorance, and says it is a Brahman is undivided, original, and changeless, and it is always blissful, and it is the cause of the material manifestation. So the impersonal effluence of Supreme Lord is Brahman. And if you look at the Brahma Samhita text 40, Yasya Prabhava Prabhavato Jagadanda Koti Ashesha Visudhadi Vibhuti Brahman Tad Brahma Ekalam Anantam Ashesha Bhutam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primal Lord, whose effluence is the source of the non-differentiated Brahman mentioned in the Upanishads, being differentiated from the infinity of glories of the mundane universe, appears as the individual, infinite, limitless, and truth. So Dhruva Maharaj offered his obeisances to Brahman, which is non-different from Supreme Lord. So in the purport, Prabhupada provides Vishwanath Chakravarti's opinion on the devotees who worship impersonal Brahman. Basically, they are the Gnana Mishra Bhaktas because they partially understand the absolute truth. And Brahman realization is like a different energies working under the heading of knowledge and ignorance. On account of these different energies, there is a continuously a manifestation of Vidya and Avidya. Vidya is the knowledge and Avidya is the ignorance. So if Ishopanishad Sloka 9 states this, Ananda Tamah Parvisanti ye Vidyam Upassate Tatho Bhuya Ivate Tamo Vayu Vidyam Rataha. Those who engage in the culture of recent activity shall enter into the darkest regions of ignorance. Worse still are those engaged in the culture of so-called knowledge. So this verse offers a comparative like a study of Vidya and Avidya. Avidya is ignorance, is undoubtedly dangerous, but Vidya or knowledge is even more dangerous when mistaken or misguided. This verse of Sri Upanishad is more applicable today than at any time in the past. Modern civilization has advanced considerably in the field of mass education, but the result is that people are more unhappy than ever before because of the stress placed on material advancement to the exclusion of the most important part of life, the spiritual aspect. As far as Vidya is concerned, the first verse has explained very clearly that the Supreme Lord is the proprietor of everything and that forgetfulness of his fact is ignorance. The more a man forgets this fact of life, the more he is in darkness. In view of this, a godless civilization directed towards the so-called advancement of education is more dangerous than a civilization in which the mass of people are less educated. So of the different classes of men, karmis, jnanis, and yogis, the karmis are those who are engaged in the activities of sense gratification. And in the modern civilization, 99.9% of the people are engaged in the activities of sense gratification under the flags of industrialism, economic development, altruism, political activism, and so on. So all these activities are more or less based on the satisfaction of the senses to the exclusion of the kind of God consciousness. So in Bhagavad Gita 7.15, Namam Srishtino Mudaha Prapadyante Naradamaha Maya Prartha Gnana Ashuram Bhavam Ashritaha. People who are engaged in gross sense gratifications are mudas. Those who simply engage in the profitless pursuits of sense gratification are worshipping avidya, according to Sri Upanishad. And also, and those who play the role of helping this sort of civilization in the name of educational advancement are actually doing more harm than those who are on the platform of gross sense gratification. The advancement of learning by a godless people is as dangerous as a valuable jewel on the hood of a cobra. A cobra decorated with a valuable jewel is more dangerous than one not decorated. In the Haribhakti Shuddhoya 3.11.12, the advancement of education by a godless people is compared to a decoration on a dead body. So in India, as in many other countries, some people follow the custom of leading a procession with a decorated dead body for the pleasure of the lamenting relatives. In the same way, modern civilization is patchwork of activities meant to cover the perpetual miseries of material existence. All such activities are aimed towards sense gratification, but above the senses is the mind, and above the mind is the intelligence, and above the intelligence is soul. Thus, the aim of the real education should be self-realization, realization of the spiritual values of the soul. Any education which does not lead to such realization must be considered avidya or nescience. And to culture such nescience means to go down to the darkest region of the ignorance. And according to Bhagavad Gita 2. 4.2 and 7.15, mistaken mundane educators are known as Vedavada Ratha, Mayaya Praharta Gnana. They may also be atheistic demons, the lowest of men. Those who are Vedavada Ratha pose themselves as very learned in the Vedic literature, but unfortunately they are completely derived from the purpose of the Vedas. In the Bhagavad Gita 15.15, it is said that the purpose of the Vedas is to know the personality of Godhead, but these Vedavada Ratha men are not at all interested in the personality of Godhead. On the contrary, they are fascinated by such fruitive results as the attainment of heaven. And as stated here, we should know that the personality of Godhead is the proprietor of everything, and that we must be satisfied with our allotted portions of the necessities of life. The purpose of all Vedic literature is to awaken this Godship consciousness in the forgetful living being. And this same purpose is presented in various ways in the different scriptures of the world for the understanding of foolish mankind. Thus, the ultimate purpose of all religion is to bring one back to Godhead. So, but the Vedavatara people, instead of realizing that the purpose of the Vedas is to revive the forgetful soul's lost relationship with the personality of Godhead, take it for granted that such side issues as the attainment of heavenly pleasure for sense gratification, the lust for which causes their material bondage in the first place, are the ultimate end of the Vedas. Such people misguide others by misinterpreting the Veda literature. Sometimes they even condemn the Puranas, which are authentic Vedic explanations for laymen. The Vedavataratas give their own explanation of Vedas, neglecting the authority of great teachers, acharyas. They also tend to raise some unscrupulous persons from among themselves and present him as the leading exponent of Vedic knowledge. Such Vedavataratas are especially condemned in this verse by the very appropriate Sanskrit verse. Vyayam Rataha Vidyayam refers to the study of the Vedas because the Vedas are the origin of all knowledge, Vidya. And Ratha means those engaged. Vidyayam Rataha thus means those engaged in the study of Vedas. The so-called students of the Vedas are condemned herein because they are ignorant of the actual purpose of the Vedas on account of their disobeying the acharyas. Such Vedavataratas search out meaning in every word of the Vedas to suit their own purposes. They do not know that the Vedic literature is a collection of extraordinary books that can be understood only through the classic of disciplic succession. So one must approach a bona fide spiritual masters in order to understand the transcendental message of the Vedas, that is the direction of Mukunda Upanishad. These Vedavatara people, however, have their own acharyas who are not in the chain of transcendental succession. Thus, they progress into the darkest region of the ignorance by misinterpreting the Vedic literature. They fall even further into the ignorance than those who have no knowledge of Vedas at all. So in a Maya Praharta Gnana class of men are self-made gods, such men think that they themselves are God and that there is no need of worshipping any other God. They will agree to the worship an ordinary man if he happens to be rich, but they will never worship the personality of Godhead. Such men, unable to recognize their own foolishness, never consider how it is that God can be entrapped by a Maya, his own illusion energy. If God were ever entrapped by Maya, Maya would be more powerful than God. Such men say that God is all powerful, but they do not consider that if he is all powerful, there is no possibility of his being overpowered by Maya. So, in conclusion, the Supreme God has personal form, and his bodily effulgence is called Brahman. And though Brahman is undivided, eternal, and original, but still it came from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Understanding Brahman as Supreme is incomplete understanding. So, Supreme Personality has a personal form, and the radiance that emerges from him is called the Brahman, and there is a difference. Vancha kalpyaturubhya cha kripa sindhubhya eva cha